Was that the worst loss of the season? We're going to talk about it. The Arizona Diamondbacks dropped this one by a score of 9-6 to the Pirates after being up 6-0 at one point in this game. Torey Lovullo has plenty to say. We're going to hear from him, as well as Kevin Ginkel from the clubhouse. Jesse Friedman from Snakes Territory joins us, and once again, might be a curse for this team when he appears on this program. Don't you go anywhere. We're starting in 30 seconds. It's never a good time when you hear that music, but hopefully we can help make your night better. Welcome into another edition of the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally a man who is called the mayor of something that I don't want to be the mayor of anything associated with what we saw tonight. And of course, we got our guy, large intimate Kevin Thomas, who also sadly does not want to be associated with anything that was happening in this game tonight. He just wants his Circle K lunch that I still owe to him. But welcome in, you guys. This show is brought to you by our friends at Bet365 and, of course, our friends at Game Time. Go use that code of PHNX over at Game Time. You'll get yourself $20 off your first purchase. And when you use our code of PHNX365 over at Bet365, you'll get yourself $150 in bonus bets. All you got to do is bet $5. Of course, this one absolutely sucked. The Arizona Diamondbacks lost to the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight by a score of 9-6. And there's not a lot of good things to say about this game nor this team right now. Diamondbacks dropped to 27-28, once again below 500. That means Cattell going up the mountain for now is dead. You'll never see him again until this team can get their act together. But we're going to talk about if this was the worst loss of the year, because it's certainly up there. And we got our guy, Thunderstick, Jesse Friedman, here from Snakes Territory to do so. Jesse, thank you so much for stopping by to curse this team once again. It's great to see you, as always. And this was an abysmal loss. This one hurts in ways I can't even begin to describe, mostly because it's against a bad team. And this is no offense to the Pirates, but some of these other painful losses that the Diamondbacks have experienced so far this year, they were at least to teams that you could feel a little better about losing to. This one, absolutely not.
Yeah, well, Derek, you say it's good to see me, but I don't know if you really believe that, because you're talking about
it's
you're
just
talking
a phrase,
about
Jesse.
me.
It's just a thing people say.
Yeah, it's strictly a formality. I also see who in the chat said, okay, we might need to ban Jesse every time he appears to suffer from a bad loss. And it's hard for me to argue with that, Derek. I believe this is the 6th appearance that I have now made this season on the PHNX DBacks show. And the Diamondbacks are 1-5 in those games. And many of those losses have been in very dramatic, frustrating fashion.
Yes.
Certainly this one among them. So I
mostly
take full
ones that, Jesse, that
responsibility.
made me change my rundown and change all of the things and change the title and headline and thumbnail and everything, because this one was cruising in the direction of the Diamondbacks dominating the Pirates early on. And instead, here we sit discussing a loss. Corbin Burnes, though, was not the reason why they lost tonight. He had another great outing for this team and honestly continues to be outstanding. This one falls squarely on the shoulders of the bullpen and maybe a little bit on the Diamondbacks offense that went completely silent after that 4th inning.
The offense did go silent. I mean, it was 17 in a row set down to end the game, which is not great. I was not particularly impressed with the quality of at-bats in those final few innings. But at the same time, you score 6 runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates. That should be enough, Derek. I mean, the Pittsburgh Pirates, I believe they said on the broadcast that this was just the second time this season that the Pirates have scored 5 or more runs on the road. They entered today with a road record of 6-20. And they scored, not only did they score more than 5 runs in this game, Derek, but they scored 7 runs in a single inning. And that just sort of encapsulates the state of this Diamondbacks bullpen even with Justin Martinez back in the mix, obviously he didn't pitch tonight, but I think this game just kind of goes to show you that getting one guy back, even if that guy is pitching well, is not going to single-handedly fix the problems that this bullpen has. We saw what that looked like tonight.
That's a discussion that Jack and I had entirely too much. And again, we both get thrown into the Torey apologist category, right? But when it came to the bullpen tonight, it kind of felt like, yes, we saw what Torey's plan was. Yes, it didn't work out with Kevin Ginkel. You could definitely criticize that, you could have had other relievers up in the bullpen, especially once you saw Kevin Ginkel struggling there and not being able to really get guys out. But the plan was the plan, it seemed like, and Torey did not defer from the plan. He did not make adjustments based on the fact that things weren't really going this team's way. He was going to get to Jalen Beeks, and it was going to be against O'Neal Cruz, and that seemed like it was set in stone for Torey regardless of how things were going, and I think that's probably his biggest managerial mistake of this night. I will say that guys like Kevin Ginkel and Jalen Beeks are guys that should be able to get the job done that, quite frankly, tonight did not. And again, this is not solely on a manager when the players themselves don't perform, right? But this one was pretty bad. And it felt like what you were saying there, Jesse, with the offense, like the offense kind of just went into kind of cruise control due to that lead. And it felt like even some of the decision makings and things later on went into cruise control despite what was happening. This Pirates team prior to tonight was 0-29 in games when they were down in the 7th inning and later. This is their first comeback victory of the year. They are now 1-29 in games where they were down in the 7th inning or later. But on the flip side, Jesse, they are 17-0 when leading after 8 innings, and I don't know what that's like. So I don't know how to relate to that. But they did snap a 4-game road losing streak. They are just not a good baseball team this year. Tommy Pham did it to us tonight. There were a lot of guys tonight that honestly had some great nights, but Brian Reynolds really stands out. He was the one that killed the Diamondbacks tonight. He was 4 for 4. He had that huge home run off of Jalen Beeks. And again, he has just been very good against the Diamondbacks in general. Not a lot of Pirates players have been, but Reynolds has been very good against this team.
It's been a weird year for Reynolds. I mean, he's been really a staple in this Pirates lineup for a number of years now. I think it's 24 more home runs in the past 4 seasons, and this year he just has gotten off to a really poor start. Obviously, he's made up quite a bit of ground here recently against the Diamondbacks. But yeah, going back to what you were talking about earlier with Torey Lovullo's decision making, I know that people are going to want to talk about this. So yeah, I mean, Kevin Ginkel enters the game in the 9th inning. The Diamondbacks have at that point a 6-2 lead. So he gives up a Henry Davis double, Alexander Canario single. So first and third, nobody out. Not a great start, but even if Torey Lovullo wanted to, he can't take Kevin Ginkel out at that point. You got to face at least 3 batters. Then he gets Adam Frazier to strike out. So first and third, 1 out. I don't think there's any case to take Ginkel out of the game at that point with Tommy Pham coming up. And then Tommy Pham singles, but it was a ground ball at 87 miles an hour off the bat. It was not hit particularly hard. So that does score a run. It makes it 6-3. Now you've got first and second with 1 out at that point. I think the really killer moment of the outing for Kevin Ginkel was walking Brian Hayes, a guy who has really, really struggled this season. Putting a guy like that on to load the bases, that's not exactly what you're trying to do in a game that's getting tighter. You could maybe make a case that Torey should have pivoted at that point. But even then, like O'Neal Cruz would then be on deck. So if you go get a righty to face Kiner Falefa, then that righty is going to be stuck facing O'Neal Cruz immediately after that. So, I'm not here saying that Torey Lovullo can do no wrong and all the decisions he's made this year are right. But to me, this one falls much more on Kevin Ginkel than it does how Torey used him tonight.
You and I have done this show together for a long time, and I don't remember a time. And mind you, I'm understanding people's frustrations, and I'm understanding watching this team, especially this season, and being angry about everything. Right, like the starting pitching lately has been the only thing that's been fairly consistent, and even that hasn't been consistent with Zach Gallen being as off as he has been this year. But it feels like, again, this is one of those, it's trending in that direction where all the blame is going towards Torey, which a lot of it is deserved, and not as much towards the players. And I mean, again, this is one of those situations tonight where I don't feel guys performed. And I also think that going 0-17 to end the game is not great either, right? Like the Diamondbacks, not to say that they should have had to put up more runs against this Pirates team, but it feels like that they were capable of that. And you really saw some poor at bats there to end the game. And I mean, you just saw a dejected team look like what was happening to them was going to happen. It looked like they saw the game slipping away and really couldn't do anything about it. And then they just let that happen to them. Right. So I feel like there is other things that could happen, but I'll also say you have a 6-0 lead at any point in any baseball game and you should win it. And if you don't, then there are problems. There were problems with that game. I don't even care if you come back and win it later. I don't care if you find a way to go down and then get back in it. Things went wrong. And, of course, we did get a chance to talk to Kevin Ginkel after the game. He discussed some of the location issues that he was having. This is what Ginkel had to say.
Yeah, I feel like on the slider a couple times tonight, maybe it could have been a few inches down, maybe a little bit more away. I felt like, in that situation, I felt like I was trying to get a ground ball. And, it is what it is. I mean, those guys miss pitches sometimes too. It's been that kind of role for me lately where I'm trying to get a pitch in the zone and trying to get a ground ball or trying to get a pop-up, something. And it hasn't been going that way. So I just got to be smart with how I pitch. I feel like, with my stuff, I'm trying to attack guys as best I can. I don't want to try and walk guys and fall behind. So, I'll take a look at the video tomorrow, kind of break it down, and we'll go from there.
I give Ginkel a lot of credit for coming out and being very honest and open with us after the game. I don't feel like necessarily we always get that out of players that blew the game in the way that Ginkel did. So, I mean, at least I tip my cap to him for that, Jesse. But he has not been very good this year for the Diamondbacks. I feel like even in outings where we see him go out there and get out of an inning without letting up any runs, it wasn't a clean inning. It wasn't something you felt extremely confident in. He usually allows some base runners, and it's just not what we're used to seeing out of Kevin Ginkel. In fact, we've talked about it in the past. He was one of the best relievers the Diamondbacks had at coming into a game with inherited runners and preventing those runners from scoring. And now this year, it doesn't even seem like he can start an inning with 0 base runners and get out of it without being in danger.
It just hasn't looked right to me for Ginkel ever since he returned from the injured list. The fastball velocity is down a little bit, not alarmingly so. The slider velocity is down several ticks, which I think maybe falls under the radar a little bit. Last year, he was averaging up over 87 with that pitch, and this year it's been in the 84 range, which he still snapped off some really lovely sliders every now and then. The whiff rate on that pitch is still really good, but you wonder if maybe that makes it a little bit more susceptible to contact, or a number of the batted balls against him tonight were on that pitch. But yeah, it hasn't really ever felt like the version of Kevin Ginkel that we've seen the past couple of seasons this year. But also in his defense, like those sliders, to Kiner Falefa and Tommy Pham were at the bottom of the zone. By no means were they terrible pitches. They were just, ground balls that were hitting good spots.
Well, meanwhile, Corbin Burnes, it felt like he needed to do what he did tonight with the way that this bullpen has been pitching. And, again, he even kind of extended things a little bit longer. He gives up those 2 runs there late in his final inning of work, but Corbin Burnes was still outstanding tonight. He threw his cutter a lot, Jesse. He threw it 61 times out of 103 total pitches. We have his pitch chart here. This is kind of bonkers because, I know he throws a cutter a lot, but he threw it a lot. He also still threw 4 other pitches in this outing, and he threw the cutter 61 times out of 103 pitches.
Yeah, Corbin Burnes loves his cutter, man. And
he does. He loves it.
It's been really like all the more so this year. I guess this year his cutter usage coming into this game was 53.6%. Last year was 45%. So he's leaned on that pitch more this season than he did last year for sure. If you look at the years before that, though, it's all pretty similar to where he's been this year. Like, it's not unusual for Corbin Burnes to really rely on that pitch way more than anything else. But yeah, he was good, Derek. I mean, he's been good too. Like, he's looked a whole lot like Corbin Burnes his last few times out. Unfortunately for the Diamondbacks and really for him, it hasn't always translated to wins. His last start, of course, coming at Dodger Stadium, where he basically made the one bad pitch to Teoscar Hernandez that wound up leading to a loss there. So he still has a 2.72 ERA, though. The Diamondbacks did not lose this game at all because of Corbin Burnes.
Killer Rex earlier in the chat brought up something from the broadcast, and Kevin, you brought it up to me, his question or his comment. It was in regards to last night, apparently, and Torey talked about this in the pregame presser. He said that apparently both Perdomo and who was it, Gino, wanted him to leave. It was, here it is. He talked on a telecast yesterday about how Suarez and Perdomo were questioning Torey about taking Nelson out. I don't know if what he said was really questioning. They wanted him to leave Ryan Nelson in because Ryan Nelson was shoving, and of course that it allows this bullpen to, have more options, more weapons available for games later in the week. But Ryan Nelson was already, I believe, past his max pitch count, and Torey said that the reason why he had to pull him out of the game was due to the limitation and making sure that Ryan Nelson doesn't get injured. He also went on to say that if Ryan Nelson would have stayed in that game and got hurt and then missed time, Torey Lovullo wouldn't have a job anymore. And he said that. Those were his words. The fact that I think that Torey brought that up just goes to show that Torey realizes his job is kind of on a little bit of a hot seat. This is one of those things where, maybe some of these decisions that he is making are under scrutiny. I know he's probably being a little bit, a little dramatic about saying he wouldn't have a job there, but again, he sees his position at times as being a guy that needs to take care of these players, these athletes, and ensure that they're available to play all season long. And he doesn't necessarily feel like, I guess in that case, having Ryan Nelson go out there long, and Ryan Nelson's situation is definitely unique, right? That is a player who the Diamondbacks, quite frankly, are taking a bit of a liberty with having him go back from being stretched out as a starter to going to the bullpen to being stretched out for a starter again. Now we don't know what's going to happen. Eduardo Rodriguez is making his next start at the in the AZ or in the Arizona Complex League, so that's his official start. The Diamondbacks will kind of re-examine things after that, but that's his rehab start, which means that Eduardo Rodriguez should be available to pitch for this team soon. That's going to be a problem because are you really going to replace him if he's not performing? You're going to place Ryan Nelson with Eduardo Rodriguez? I don't know. That's a whole other thing they have to get to. But tonight, Corbin Burnes was very good for this team. Again, his 7th quality start of the year, Jesse. In fact, every single start, we tweeted this out earlier, every start in the month of May by Corbin Burnes now was a quality start. He had 4 starts this month. He allowed 5 earned runs in 27 innings pitched. And he's just been that guy that the Diamondbacks thought they were going to get when they went out and added him to the starting rotation. The problem is that other pieces of this team are not what they thought that they would be. And, of course, like you said, it hasn't translated, unfortunately, for Corbin Burnes over to the Diamondbacks winning games. However, he is still our king snake for tonight because nobody else deserves it. Nobody deserves it. I don't even know if Corbin deserves it, but he deserves it because at least he gave this team a chance to win. 7 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, 2 walks. And yeah, 6 strikeouts. Light up the old Circle K strikeout meter while we're at it, Kevin, because we got to kick there we go. Kick that bad boy on. Bullpen, though, not great. Defense kind of went, Jesse, a little bit like the offense and this whole game went. We had some amazing defense early on, an amazing throw by Gino and a scoop by Josh Naylor early on to get Canario to lead off the 4th inning. There was also an incredible play by Jordan Lawler that everybody was retweeting the video of where he robbed Cabrian Hayes of and saved at least 1 run from scoring there in the 6th inning. So that was an instant where things could have kind of turned sideways on them a little bit with Corbin Burnes still in the game had that ball dropped through and had Lawler not made that play kind of off the pitching mound there. So those were some great plays. However, the bad defense reared its ugly head there in the 8th inning when Perdomo makes that throwing error. And that's after the Pirates had already scored 4 runs in the inning. That just kind of kept things going. Josh Naylor wasn't able to pick it out then. And then, of course, with runners on the corners, Reynolds homers and gives the Pirates that 9-6 lead. So it just felt like that was the minute everything unraveled for this team. But again, it's like they played so good through the first half of the game. In fact, Torey was asked after the game about, I believe, how much of a percentage he feels they are, or how close they are to playing Diamondbacks baseball. This is what Torey had to say.
Yeah, it looks like we play probably 70% of the game the right way, and the other 30% we play confused baseball. That's what happens, and it's not just one. It's not just one area or one aspect. I can't be very, very critical of the starting pitching. I think it's been pretty darn good. There's certain areas. Tonight the defense broke down a little bit. The relief pitching broke down a little bit. Our situational hitting broke down a little bit. We let that guy off the hook a couple of times, or starting pitcher a couple of times early in the game. We might not be sitting here talking about the same things, and I wouldn't be as frustrated as I am if we did some of those things early in the game. Everything's targeting Kevin Ginkel right now, understandably so. But there was 5 or 6 things that happened in this game that we got to tighten up. And when we do that, that's going to be DBack baseball. And I want us to play 9 innings. I'm looking for 100% of the baseball game to be played the right way.
And again, he's kind of right there just on the aspect. I know Kevin Ginkel blew the game, and I know Torey's trying to protect his player there. But there are other things in this game that you could place blame on, and especially, and I think 70% is generous in this game. I'm not sure if they played a 70% of this one.
Well, I mean, they were up 6-2 going to the 8th inning, so I mean that'd be more than 70% the way through the game. They were still.
I'll soften my position on that.
I will say that, as you pointed out, it is sort of Torey's job in these situations to try to divert the blame away from, the one player who had a really rough night, which of course was Kevin Ginkel in this game. That's not just a Torey thing. I think a lot of managers around the league will do that.
Very true.
But at the same time, even if the Diamondbacks did tighten things up defensively and do some of those little things that he's talking about, do they win this game? I don't think that any of those things really made the difference. The difference was that Corbin Burnes got, 21 outs and gave up 2 runs. And then the bullpen came in and had given up 7 runs by the time they got 3 outs. Right.
Yeah.
And they're just, I totally understand Torey trying to make talk to his whole team in this situation, because he's right that other guys do need to clean some things up as well. But this Diamondbacks team can't get where they want to go without this bullpen figuring some things out. I mean, that's just the reality. They can play as clean a defense as you can imagine. This team isn't going anywhere with the bullpen in the state that it's currently in. And unfortunately, there just isn't really a very clear path forward in that regard.
It's a personnel issue, and it's really finding guys that can step up and get the job done. It's not to say that we haven't seen all of the guys in the bullpen at one point actually be pretty good for this team. It's just a matter of them doing it consistently and being as good as we know that they could be. In fact, someone in the chat brings up, Torey's favorite, bays in the bullpen that he likes to go to too often or whatever. But I will say this, there he goes, his side pieces, McGuff, Mantiply, Castro. Let me tell you, Scott McGuff is not the problem in the bullpen right now. In fact, Scott McGuff might need to see some more time out there on the mound. He's not the guy that we need to be blaming for this right now. But Torey Lovullo did discuss Ginkel and his performance tonight. This is what he had to say.
Count lingering, not finishing, not throwing his fastball where he wants, falling behind. So I think he's got to use his fastball a little bit more to right-handed batters, and go out there and throw that dynamic slider that he has and get some swing and miss.
Yeah, that's definitely what Kevin Ginkel was doing wrong, and I don't know if the problem here is not reacting to seeing what he was doing wrong faster. we've also seen relievers come in and struggle with the first batter that they face and then suddenly get things locked in. And I mean, because you're coming into a game cold, you're in a critical situation, you're trying to hold the lead. In this case, it wasn't even that critical. They were up 6-2. So I don't think you needed to really feel the pressure of the Pirates breathing down your neck, a team that has not come back from being down in the 7th inning or later one time this season prior to tonight. But just one more time before we go on, let's hear from Kevin Ginkel, and just here's what he had to say about the bad result tonight.
Yeah, it's just incredibly frustrating. I expect better on myself. It's a comfortable lead, and to blow it in a situation like that is frustrating. And I feel like I'm a better pitcher than that team, so I'm pitching down to that level. So it's just frustrating. I really don't have any answers with how it went. Ground ball here and there I was trying to get, and it was just out of reach. So it is what it is. I know we'll be fine. We'll keep going. It's a long season, and just trying to fight each day.
Well, I mean, I appreciate his confidence there, Jesse, but I don't know if at this point you should be besmirching the good name of the Pirates in any way after what happened to this team tonight. But we're going to talk more about the offense and other things that went wrong in this game, maybe some that went right and how we were joyful for a little while until we weren't. On the other side of this break, don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondbacks show. Of course, we've talked about Monarch money, and we've talked about how your finances can be as messy as this Diamondbacks bullpen at times. So, of course, to help keep them straight, look to Monarch Money. It is an amazing app that acts like your personal chief financial officer, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing, right? And that's really what this is about, is growing towards wealth, growing towards achieving your financial goals. And that is what Monarch Money can help you with. If you are wasting your money like I am on entirely too many things that you don't even realize you're wasting your money on, Monarch Money can take into account all your credit cards, all your accounts, all your investments in one place, and they can track your spending, your savings, and investments effortlessly. They can tell you if you're on track for your goals. They can tell you how much free money you have to spend this month, and that's something we should all be paying attention to. Monarch Money is the finance tool people actually love. Named the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. It is the top recommended financial app by users and experts with over 30,000 five-star reviews. So get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use our code of PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with PHNX. And All Pro Shade Concepts, of course, they can definitely help you get your outdoor living space ready for this hot summer. I mean, things aren't even as bad as they normally are in Arizona, but things are going to get hot fast with June right around the corner. So you should extend your outdoor living space to give you more wonderful time in the outdoors. And I know sometimes during the summer here in Arizona, we hide inside away from the sun. So don't do that. Let All Pro Shade Concepts help extend your patio area. They can add roll down patio shades that can keep your patio up to 20 degrees cooler. They can also put those roll down shades in your home to keep your home 20 degrees cooler and keep those harmful UV rays out. They can also replace and fix most old or outdated patio shades and motorized awnings. So give them a call. They're licensed, bonded, and insured. You can call them right now at 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com now to schedule your free estimate. All right. Well, Jesse, of course, we had some good things from this team. Corbin Carroll hits a leadoff home run right away, right? We start things off with that, and things are joyous. That was his 16th home run of the year, his 4th leadoff home run of the season as well. And that was also our Sanderson Ford deep drive of the game, because Corbin Carroll hit that 393-foot home run, like I said, as a leadoff. And he is currently tied with 4 other players for second in Major League Baseball in leadoff home runs. He is the also second in the National League in total home runs and 5th in Major League Baseball. So Corbin Carroll killing it with the long ball, Jesse, just unfortunately not getting a good batting average, not getting on base as often as we're used to seeing. And it feels like the home runs are good, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it feels like Corbin Carroll is so much more dangerous just out there on the base path as a distraction, as a guy that puts that pressure on the defense. And unfortunately, we're not seeing him have that consistency at the plate right now.
No, we're not. And honestly, Corbin Carroll is kind of swinging at everything right now. I'm not gonna lie. His chase rate for the season entering tonight was 34%, which is in the 16th percentile. So that's a really high chase rate, much higher than we've ever seen from Corbin Carroll in years past. Even though he has had obviously a great season overall, he really has swung at a lot of pitches out of the zone this year, and it's worked for him because he's connecting so regularly and obviously showcasing so much power that the numbers are still good. But you kind of figure that in the larger picture, it would be good for Corbin to maybe be a little bit less aggressive, work the count a little bit, particularly early in counts. It feels like he's swinging a lot. Maybe backing off that would lead to some longer at bats and a little bit more consistency at the plate right now.
Well, he snapped a 0 for 14 hitless streak with his leadoff home run, which just goes to show how he's been struggling there at the plate. But he is the first Diamondback with 16 or more home runs in the team's first 55 games since Paul Goldschmidt did it back in 2015. We really haven't had that deep, that power presence on this team, at least early on in the season. So it's wild that Corbin, who played in his 400th career Major League Baseball game tonight, went out there and did that so far this season. Josh Naylor, he's just the fastest man alive. He gets his 9th stolen base of the year, Jesse. And I just had,
he
was so much joy
on the
from
back
this offense
of a
tonight.
double steal. Derek,
What's
I
that?
feel like
Good
it's
old double
important
steal.
to note that was a double steal and Josh Naylor was not.
I don't care. No, that was not. That did not need to be clarified. It doesn't matter. Josh Naylor's now 9 stolen bases, Jesse. The offense exploded there in the 4th inning. They had a great 4th inning. Despite the fact that early on Corbin Carroll's single home run was the only thing offensively that they had going on. Then they do the thing. They put up the crooked number. The offense really actually looked solid, and it looked like, yes, you wanted to temper your expectations a bit because it's against this Pirates team, but it was just good to see them flowing, and it was good to see them especially stringing together hits. That's what we haven't been able to see them do, hit with runners in scoring position. You also have Gabriel Moreno turning that double that to the right field there into a triple with his legs. That was great to see. He then scores on an Alec Thomas RBI single, and you just start seeing the thing that we've seen out of this team, right? Them extending and getting an extra base, getting more, just closer to scoring a run, and then being able to score a run once someone gets that big hit. Jordan Lawler walks. He still doesn't have a hit this season. That's still concerning. Corbin Carroll reaches on a fielding error to load the bases, and then Jerry P does the thing. He gives the RBI, 2 RBI single that then puts the Diamondbacks up, I believe, 4-0. At that point, everything just looked good, right? We're sitting there in this 4th inning, just one hit after the next. Lourdes has an RBI single. Josh Naylor has an RBI single. They go up 6-0. And again, because the Pirates haven't won a game when they are down by in the 7th inning or later, you just kind of started to feel good about this one. And I don't know how you couldn't, considering that, Corbin Burnes was throwing the way he was and everything was going the Diamondbacks' way up to that point, right? And then after that, the Diamondbacks 1-2-3 hitters go 1-2-3 in every inning after the 4th inning. And the offense just completely stalls out. I mean, got to give credit where credit's due, because Joey Wentz from the Pirates came in, and the Diamondbacks had absolutely no answer for him. Absolutely no answer for him, right? So, again, you just like I blame the performance of our relievers, sometimes you got to give credit to the opposition's relievers for coming into a game. The Diamondbacks were swinging freely, and they were putting up a lot of runs and completely brought everything they were doing to a halt. But
you mean the Brent Strom-led bullpen of the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Get out, Kevin.
No, I'm just saying.
No, get out.
I miss the man.
No, I'll produce the rest of the show.
I'm saying I miss the damn man, Derek. I miss his contributions to this franchise, Derek.
One of the security guards tonight told me, "Hey, did you see Brent? He just came in from the dugout." And my reaction was to say, "Oh, yeah," because I do miss Brent.
Yeah,
I miss Brent a lot. I'm starting to, you know how they said Magneto was right? I'm starting to think Brent was right, Kevin. That's all I'm saying.
We talked about it on the last show. It's kind of scary, though, right?
Brent
like everything he said
right,
is starting to pop up now. It's kind of scary.
Jesse, I don't know. This overall wasn't so. I don't blame the offense, really. I don't, but it is kind of odd to see this offense be on such a roll and then go completely silent. Of course, we know that can happen definitely at times with this team, though. Like, this team is impressive with how cold the bats can get and how cold they can get collectively as a team.
You know who really should take the blame for this DBacks loss, Derek? Chris Conroy, the home plate umpire,
Yes!
who, with Gabby Moreno up and the bases loaded with 2 outs in the bottom of the first inning, that was not strike 3. It should have been 3-2.
We got it. Show the screenshots, Kevin. Put them on the screen.
Which player was it?
This was the Gabriel Moreno one. This is the strikeout to end the first inning.
Yep.
Wait, no, that's not that one. That one is
I think it is.
Yeah, that's Moreno.
Yeah, that's Moreno.
All right, go to the next one. I think we have Jordan Lawler. Oh no, this is the Corbin Carroll strikeout. This is the Corbin Carroll strikeout to end the second inning, and that was that pitch up there way outside, that number 5 pitch. That's just a called strike. That was just egregious. Oh man, yeah, no, I mean. Jesse, Jack was losing his mind on these calls. Look at that number 1 pitch called strike. At least he's consistent with how bad and far out these balls are with calling them strikes. I give him that, but I won't give him credit for anything else. I won't give him credit for doing his job correctly tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I'm not like actually serious in blaming Chris Conroy for this.
We can, though.
Loss.
It's fine. Let's do it anyway.
But it was a pivotal moment, right? I mean, I think Burrows threw 30 pitches in that first inning, and if that goes to 3-2 on Moreno, maybe he walks, and Burrows has to face another hitter that inning, or maybe Moreno finds his way on base with a base knock, or an extra base hit of some kind. Obviously, Moreno has been really hot lately for this team, so you never know what this game could have looked like if that call had been made correctly. But at the same time, the Diamondbacks should not have been reliant on Chris Conroy making that call correctly. They should have won this game anyway because they were beating the Pirates 6-0 in the middle innings, and that should be that.
Jesse, there's some talk in the chat from Elizabeth, aka Zabe. Zabe wants to know how long is it until I have to dye my beard teal? Now, the bet was made in regards to Gino Suarez hitting 40 home runs this season now.
For the record, it was 50, and then you got cocky and moved it down 50, to 40.
Because everyone's like, oh, he's going to hit 50. And then when he went on his cold streak, I was like, I'm going to knock it down to 40. I don't think he's going to hit 40. Jesse, do you think Gino Suarez is going to hit 40 home runs?
I mean, he's on pace to hit 40 home runs.
I know he's on pace.
I'll say that.
I know you love numbers and math. I'm asking, how does it feel in your heart? What does your soul say? Am I going to have to dye my beard teal or not? And when is that going to happen? That's what Zabe wants to know.
I think you're going to be okay. I think he's going to settle in like the mid upper 30s. I think he'll get to like 37 or 38 would be that's what my heart tells me, Derek. You must know.
I appreciate you. Well, we have some more from Torey on the offense before we don't hear from Torey anymore, but he does talk here about going 0 for 17 to end the game and their at-bats. This is what he had to say.
I think, once in a while, I think this team is a little bit reactive. I want to be more proactive and keep their foot on the throttle. And, I want their credit, all the credit is given to their left-handed pitcher that came in the game. Wentz, but I believe our hitters can beat anybody at any time. So we got to keep after it, and I want us to be proactive and play DBack baseball.
I saw Torey today, Jesse, probably more frustrated than I've seen him in a while, and I think I can relate to that. I think every fan can relate to that. And I know some people put him as the centerpiece of the blame, and that's fine if you do. But I mean, at the same time, he himself seems to be at wit's end a little bit with this team. And I think he's frustrated because, he not only truly believes this team is better than they're playing, but like he almost kind of is in a terrible position as a manager to second guess his actions constantly. He brought up tonight about not walking, not walking. I think it was Brian Reynolds with a base open. just because so far walking batters recently has not gone well for him. He talked about, a couple of other decisions that he's made in regards to, leaving relievers in or pulling relievers. And it really just feels like right now, what's like the frustrating part for him is he is trying different things. And it seems like no matter what path he goes down in some of these games, the result is this, the result is a heartbreaking, gut-wrenching loss that definitely makes you rethink why you ever got involved with a game involving a stick and a ball being hit.
I think people are making a good point in the chat, which is, when Torey references D-back baseball, it's almost like he's shooting himself in the foot a little bit by making those references, because, what is D-backs baseball? Like, it certainly, if D-backs baseball is what we've seen in 2025 for the majority of the season, that's not something that you want to replicate. This team oftentimes has not, made those little plays, has not been as stellar defensively as we've seen in the past. So I guess he's maybe referring to, the larger past 3 or 4 years of D-backs baseball, where they've generally been very competent on both sides of the ball with defense, base running, those kinds of things. But that's just not been the reality of this team. And I guess it's really just the, post-game terminology. I'm not going to get too caught up in any of this, but I think it's a fair point that phrase just doesn't really mean that much right now.
You're absolutely right. And I will get caught up in this, and I will get in the weeds of this, because what I will say in regards to, you're totally right. Like, this has started to bother me as well, because D-backs, it's kind of like when he was talking last year about setting a standard. I know that they want to set a standard, and I get what he means by that, but you haven't achieved that standard yet. Just like you haven't really achieved enough years of this team being flawless defensively for you to talk about D-backs baseball being that, right? A lot of people will bring up that this team has been as equally bad in Torey Lovullo's tenure as they've been good. So it's like, yeah, I understand that the idea of playing D-backs baseball is playing really solid fundamentals and ensuring that this team doesn't make mistakes, and does all the small things the right way. They might not have the power, they might not have the lineup that the Dodgers have, but they're gonna get on base. They're gonna, they're gonna be fast on the bases. They're gonna get you confused with their base runners. They're gonna steal bases. They're gonna, do all the things that like you consider to be fundamentals of baseball the right way, right? And they're just not doing that, and they haven't really done it all year. You have the fact that you have different personnel, you have different coaches. There's a lot of things that right now are different about this team. So like D-backs baseball might have been a thing that was established by past rosters and past coaches and past teams, but so far this season, I would agree with Torey that they've probably played baseball at a 70% rate in all these games, even the wins, right? And they have a couple of thorough, wins where they just did everything right and beat their opponent pretty handedly from beginning to end. But those victories are few and far between this season. And in fact, it's hard to really think about too many games where you didn't worry about going to the bullpen or what was going to happen when a starting pitcher left, or, even in some cases, if 1 or 2 runs was going to be enough for them to secure the win, even though they had a lead, right? But we are going to talk about the numbers from this game, and I know people probably don't want to, but we're going to do it anyway. On the other side of this break, Jesse, you stick around. The rest of you stick around. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the Diamondbacks podcast. I don't even feel like talking about it. I don't even feel like saying the thing right. I like, that's how disgusted I am with everything tonight. But it's a great night for Pure Edibles. Pure Edibles can help me get back on track. Pure Edibles can improve my mood, and Pure Edibles can help me get some sleep tonight when I might just be sitting there tossing and turning, thinking about what ifs from this game. So make sure to check out Pure Edibles. They are a wonderful company. They were founded in Flagstaff, Arizona at Noble Herb Dispensary, and now they are made right here in Phoenix, Arizona. They have a wide variety of candies. They not only have gummies, but they also have hard candies, chews. They have their kicks, which are like Starburst, and all of those candies have their effects clearly listed on each tin, so you know exactly what you're getting into. I highly recommend the sleep gummies. Like I said in the past, sleeping for me isn't just about getting to sleep. It's about staying asleep. I can fall asleep sometimes in public, but it's more about getting a good night's rest, getting those 8 hours, 9 hours in. I know that's crazy to some of you to even hear, but yes, you can sleep 9 straight hours without waking up. So make sure to check out their sleep edition gummies and everything they have. They're designed to be ripped or bit in half, making them easily shareable or easy to dial in your exact dose. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of over 130 dispensaries right here in Arizona. And of course, LinkedIn can be your key to finding the exact personnel you need for your company. If you are a small business owner, we know that your business is on your mind at all times, and you do not have the time necessarily to always go out there and find qualified candidates to fill the job positions that you need to fill. So you can look to LinkedIn for qualified candidates, because at the end of the day, the most important thing to your small business is the quality of the candidates. And with LinkedIn, you can feel confident that you're getting that. Based on LinkedIn data, 72% of small businesses using LinkedIn say that helps them find a higher quality candidate. You can also let your network know that you're hiring. You can even add a hiring frame to your profile picture and get 2 times more qualified candidates. But regardless, look to LinkedIn. Let them help you get those candidates and let them help you run your small business. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/DBacks. That's linkedin.com/DBacks to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, Jesse. Well, let's take a look at the numbers from tonight's game presented by Desert Financial. Of course, Diamondbacks lose this one by a score of 9-6. They get out hit by the Pirates 12-8. The Diamondbacks were 4 for 11. So, of course, in a loss, they finally had a better batting average with runners in scoring position than their opponent. But unfortunately, it's in a loss. Pirates had 5 extra base hits to the Diamondbacks 3, and expected batting average basically a wash for these two teams. 249 for the Diamondbacks, 254 for the Pirates. Not a lot here from, the numbers, because again, it's baseball and the numbers don't really show you exactly what happened in this one. But what happened was the bullpen imploded. And again, we give a lot of blame towards Kevin Ginkel, but Ginkel Beeks really is the one that gave up that home run as well. Of course, the idea there is like you said earlier, you start rethinking that inning, and aside from literally saying you should have put in a different reliever than Kevin Ginkel, I don't know if there's a lot of splitting hairs that you can do there about what was mismanaged in that inning. It's just comes down to the performance, and that performance includes both Kevin Ginkel and Ginkel Beeks.
This Diamondbacks team has made kind of a lot of history, Derek, for being a very mediocre baseball team so far.
Sure the hell have.
It's not often that you see like a 500 baseball team just seemingly like setting new records like every week or two. But that's kind of been the case for this team. They mentioned it on the broadcast that only once in franchise history have the Diamondbacks had a 6-run lead and then lost the game by 3 or more runs. It last happened, the only other time it happened was way back in 2009. And it feels like we've had those types of conversations kind of a lot in 2025. Again, for a team that's not terrible, but a team that is right in the middle that, very well could be in a much better position had they not had so many of these late game meltdowns.
Well, I said I saw Torey more frustrated than I've seen him. And what was weird was we did the normal press conference thing, Jesse. We came in, I think one question was asked because Ketel Marte wasn't in the lineup today, so everybody was concerned and very worried about Ketel Marte not being in the lineup. Ketel was out of the lineup due to having a case of the flu. Torey said he was there at Chase Field and would be available off the bench if needed, which made me have more questions. You want to talk about doubting Torey Lovullo or questioning Torey Lovullo? I questioned him when he said Ketel Marte was there with the flu. I was like, get him the hell out of here. I don't want the flu. You don't want the flu. I don't want the players to get the flu. Why is he here? What are we doing? Get him out of here. So that's maybe my only question here. But again, we were all disarmed by Torey telling us that Ketel had the flu, and then he kind of was like, I got you. You guys don't even have any more questions for me because all you wanted to ask me about was Ketel Marte not being in the lineup. And eventually, it was just like, a pregame thing. Things were loose. Torey was in a good mood. And then he was asked about his frustrations with this team, and he was asked about just everything that's gone on. And I like, it was a mood switch. And we have video. Here's what Torey had to say about his frustrations with the team this season.
Yeah, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that type of baseball. I'm tired of the inconsistencies. They know how I feel about it. I get in front of the players. The coaches are coaching their butts off. Where we're at 500 is not acceptable to me. So I understand that. It's putting all parts of our game together and being consistent for 9 full innings. That's really what it is. When the D-backs go out there and play D-back baseball, we're gonna win 8 of 11, and that's what I'm looking for. But we can't do that until you win game 1. We did that yesterday, and we got to win another game today. And I want to get too far ahead of ourselves. And this team is so good at focusing on the space they're in right now. They're all present. They know they got to attack a young starting pitcher. Doesn't have a lot of data, a lot of information, but they're going to be ready to go. But what does that mean? It means controlling the zone offensively. It means putting the ball on the plate with our starting pitching, following a game plan. It means playing elite defense as fast as we practice, timely hitting, situational hitting. It's all of it together. When we do that, it's clean, it's easy, and it's fun to watch.
I want to go back in time and warn him. I want to warn him about what was about to happen to him and his team, Jesse. I can't, but I want to, oh my God. But yeah, I mean, when he says that, I like, you do get the sense that this team is far too talented. That's at least what they feel. That's truly what they feel, that this team, even this goddamn bullpen, is too talented for them to be as bad as they are, as mediocre. The whole team is mediocre, but the bullpen right now has to be its biggest weakness, and that's crazy considering that we at least spent a few weeks at the beginning of the season talking about the bullpen being one of their biggest strengths.
Yeah. I mean, if you had told me going into the year that Shelby Miller was going to have an ERA in the 2s and Jalen Beeks was going to have an ERA, I think it's still in the low mid 3s, even after giving up the homer today, I probably would have said, okay, like this D-backs bullpen might really be something with Justin Martinez and AJ Puck at the very back end, with Shelby and Jalen pitching that way, and Ryan Thompson and Kevin Ginkel and Joe Mantiply. You probably in your head would have thought this bullpen was having a lot of success, but it's really just been Shelby Miller and Jalen Beeks as the only guys in this bullpen who are pitching even remotely well, right? I mean, it feels like pretty much everyone else in this bullpen right now, you just don't really know what you're going to get.
You said Joe Mantiply, and it caused Kevin to literally break down.
Bro said, and Joe Mantiply.
I mean, going into the season, Joe Mantiply was on that list.
I can't
right?
believe his legitimate reaction. He has been dying this rest of the time you were talking, just based on the mention of Joe Mantiply's name.
The rest of it made so much sense. Like Jesse was cooking. He was like, yeah, no, Shelby Miller, ERA in the 2s. Then you have Ginkel. And he was like, and the cherry on top, Joe Mantiply.
Oh God!
And I lost
so
my mind.
bad.
And I lost my mind. I do love you though, Jesse. I do.
No,
love you,
Jesse's 100% right, because like there were just so many quality pieces, and based on the experience and what we've seen out of these guys, these weren't guys that you don't trust, right? You don't trust a Scott McGuff. You don't trust certain guys that have proven in the past that they were unreliable, but now, oddly enough, those are the guys that are reliable. The Shelby Millers, the Scott McGuffs, those are the guys that are pitching well. And the guys that you want to rely on and the guys that you have in the past are just inconsistent. But we got one more ad break to get through. Let's do that real fast. And then we'll get around to a little bit more from the NL West. And, of course, also Ildemaro Vargas opting out of his contract with the Diamondbacks. All this on the other side of this break. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Of course, now is a great time to head out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Of course, if you want to forget an evening like this, you can have a lot of fun out at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You can go all in with over 4,500 slots and live table games, or catch all of the action at their BetMGM Sportsbook with massive screens, delicious food, and of course, all the action with the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and baseball season in full swing. It's the ultimate place to watch and win. Place your bets and experience the excitement. And of course, with an unprecedented level of excitement, there is no place that you should be other than Gila River Resorts and Casinos this summer. They are waiving their resort fees. They have all sorts of deals. And of course, it's the best place for a staycation. Hang out by the pool, get yourself a frosty beverage, and enjoy. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathila.com for more details. And of course, if you want that frosty beverage on the go, a great place to go, Circle K. They got their Frosters. You got your Polar Pops. You got all sorts of deals right now. And if you are an Inner Circle member, you get even more deals. You get a 79-cent Polar Pop, not to mention your first 5 Polar Pops are free once you sign up. You get a 99-cent Froster. You got 3 for $7 Ghosts, which I've come to absolutely adore. Ghosts are so good. You got 3 for $5 on the 28-ounce Gatorades and the 20-ounce Gator Lights to make sure to keep yourself nice and hydrated. And you will save 30 cents per gallon on fuel when you buy 3 Celsius. So, of course, these are all things for Inner Circle members only. If you are not an Inner Circle member yet, join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details.
Derek, is it Celsius or is it Celsius? Me and Damon have had this discussion about every ad read we do.
Oh, do you mean like the malt, like the
yeah, like was it Celsius?
Yeah,
is it Celsius?
Celsius.
Is it Celsius?
I don't know. I might have to go
Jesse,
with Celsius.
you're a teacher. What you got?
I mean, apparently the plural mammoths is mammoth as one. I don't know anything anymore.
Yeah, that one still doesn't make sense to me. I would probably lean towards Celsius. As a native Arizonan, cacti, Celsius, it just
Good
feels
point.
right.
Good point. Well said. Well said. Well, let's take a look really fast at the NL West before we get out of here. This is where we sit. Diamondbacks now. It's what I've feared, Jesse. It's what I've been talking about. At least it's not as dramatic as I want to get. I still know there's a lot of baseball to be played. That was reiterated several times tonight. In fact, Torey was asked, obviously you don't want to be making these mistakes, but at least making these mistakes early on in the season, it gives you a little less anxiety than having these games go this way later in the season. The team has time to learn from these mistakes, remember them, and hopefully make sure that this type of month that's happened in the month of May does not happen again. But as you can see, we are dropping back there in the standings. And I've said this before, like you just want to keep part of the group. You don't necessarily need to lead. You don't need to be in second. You just need to stay part of the NL West pack until you have more games against your division, which right now, like they don't play the Dodgers again until, the end of the season. Right. So there's a big gap in between those series, but this is just getting to a point of concern. I tried to tell people that it was early, I think just yesterday or just on Saturday. I was like, it's early. Let's calm down. Now, 1 game later, and I'm or at least 2 games later, I'm ready to start panicking already because this loss was that kind of special and that kind of bad.
We're getting to the point where you can't say it's early anymore. I think you still can say that while we're in May, but once the calendar flips to June, it's like, all right. I mean, we're in the first half of the season, but you're coming up on 40% of the games played before too long. I will say that just to add some perspective, a year ago at this time, the Diamondbacks were a mess. They were 25-32 as of, I believe, the end of May. So they were in the middle of a rough losing streak at this point a year ago. And they dropped all the way down to 7 games under 500. And then, of course, they dramatically turned things around from that point and finished the year 16 games over 500, right? So there is a lot of baseball to be played. Even though it's not really early anymore, there's still a lot of baseball to be played. There's a lot of time left for this team to right some of the wrongs from this first 6 weeks or so. But, we also can learn from last year that every game does matter. And the National League postseason picture is brutal in a year in, year out basis. And this year doesn't look like it's going to be any different.
Yeah, well, you're right about that. And that's good perspective in regards to where they were at last year. And again, they did win more games last year than they did the previous season when they made it all the way to the World Series. It's just a matter of circumstances, right? It's a matter of how do the rest of the teams play? Where do they end up at the end of the year? Right now, again, the Diamondbacks they're not out of it, but it feels like it. It actually feels worse this year, I think, maybe because of once again, the high expectation. I don't know. At least I feel like last year we blamed a lot of it on the World Series run and the fact that this team was kind of had a very short offseason and wasn't really fully rested. And then they added Jordan Montgomery, and we were like, well, he's not been bad, but he can maybe get things back on track. He's a really good pitcher. Eduardo Rodriguez will come back eventually. Everything will be good. And it wasn't those guys that got things back on track. It was Merrill Kelly. It was Ryan Nelson. It was guys that were on this team doing it. Corbin Carroll and Gino became superheroes in the second half of the year, and this team somehow managed, like you said, to be up 16 games over 500, yet still miss the playoffs, right? So we that's not the result we want. Ultimately, at the end of the year, I don't give a damn about what their win-loss record is, as long as they can get in the postseason and give themselves an opportunity to go on that same kind of run that they made in 2023. If you guys are watching right now on TV, on one of the apps, we love you guys. We appreciate you. Come on over to gophnx.com. We're going into extra innings. They call it overtime around here, but I refuse to do that because it's baseball and we go into extra innings in baseball. And Jesse, I need you. This is what I need you here for, because you would bully these people into making us an extra innings graphic instead of an overtime one, because you would be like, this is foolish. We don't go into overtime in baseball. We go into extra innings. But yeah, Diamondbacks did lose. I don't want to act like this is a big piece, but I just brought this up the other day, Jesse, so that's why I find this kind of coincidental. I was saying the Diamondbacks have some veterans in their organization in the minor league system that are there for depth. And primarily, that's what they're there for. They're not guys that you're developing any further. They're not guys that you are expecting to be the future of your team. They are guys like Vargas. They are guys like Trey Mancini, who are playing well at a minor league level, a AAA level, and could be useful to the Diamondbacks if maybe they decided to go with Vargas in that same role as Lawler. I know he's not as versatile as Lawler. I know he can't provide the same amount of defense, but Vargas also has many more years of major league experience under his belt, and just for what the Diamondbacks are kind of asking out of guys like Tim Tawa, Garrett Hampson earlier in the season, and now Lawler, I was just thinking like Vargas might be a good guy to give a shot to. I also brought up the fact that you might not have a lot of time left with a guy like this, because based on how he's playing, he just had a walk-off RBI single for the Reno Aces before he left the team. That snapped the Reno Aces 7-game losing streak. And again, he's been very good at times for that Aces team. He opts out of his contract to go play for a major league club, I'm assuming. And right now, at this point, with injuries and the way the season has gone, I'm sure there's plenty of teams looking to add someone like Vargas, just either as that utility backup or maybe even as a guy that could potentially even start for them. But it feels like the Diamondbacks have things like this going on. Like Jordan Lawler's kind of a metaphor in a way for this team, just a little bit, right? Like, you want him to be there. Things look good, but not everything's 100%. His defense was outstanding tonight. But, I mean, again, Jesse, he still is hitless this season, and you got to get to a point where I know his defense is incredibly solid, and I know they're giving him plenty of playing time, but you feel like he needs to go back down to Reno to try to get his bat right so that he can offer you all parts of the game and not just his glove.
It was an interesting decision to let Ildemaro Vargas go. My understanding is that the Diamondbacks could have kept him in the organization just by putting him on the 40-man roster, and they decided not to do that, even though they did have a 40-man roster spot available. But you look a little closer at his numbers down in Reno, and I start to understand a little bit more. He had a 261, 330, 397 slash line, which isn't terrible, but this is AAA we're talking about, and it's Reno. It's a 78 WRC plus, so by that metric, 22% below the league average in AAA. Doesn't really sound like a player that you're about to call up, even given the struggles that Jordan Lawler is going through right now. Blaze Alexander has started to heat up a little bit offensively. I think their decision to move on from Vargas maybe speaks to their willingness to go to Blaze as maybe their next infield option if Jordan Lawler continues to kind of not work out and they decide to send him down at some point. But it was nice to have the depth, and now they don't have Vargas, and of course they also don't have Garrett Hampson in the organization either.
Well, a couple other guys have been pretty good. Tristan English, Jesse, has been pretty good. He was extremely good for the Aces tonight. He went 4 for 5 with 2 doubles and 2 RBI. He's kind of a first base DH situation. I think he was injured or missed some playing time, but he's been pretty good since returning to the Aces lineup and playing regularly. And I think that honestly, There's just a lot of guys. There's guys that I see in Reno that suddenly go on a pretty good streak offensively, and I just immediately start doing like how many days until we see him, because it feels like the Diamondbacks. Not to say they're desperate, but understandably so. They're just trying to find that spark that can help this team, be consistent offensively. Like we were talking about Corbin Carroll struggles. Corbin Carroll was one of the guys. Like we were saying there, guys they need somebody not named Carroll or Perdomo to produce, or Josh Naylor. If you get that fourth guy, or even in some cases just that third guy hitting and being able to get on base or being able to drive runs in with runners in scoring position, you feel like this team is immediately successful. Unfortunately, it just feels like too often there's only two guys having a great night. I think Steve Zinsmeister tweeted out the other day, but it was something about Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte still don't have multi-hit games in the same game, and neither guy, they both haven't homered in the same game either, right? So it's like you're getting Corbin hitting or you're getting Ketel hitting, but you almost never get both of them raking at the same time, and it's just that's part of the frustration with what's going on with this team right now.
For sure. Yeah. With Tristan English, you're right. I mean, his numbers in AAA do look pretty good. I think he's in a tough spot because the Diamondbacks don't really need someone who plays first base or corner outfield in the immediate future. Like,
or DH,
Josh Naylor is obviously your everyday first baseman. Like Pavin Smith, I don't think he's on the verge of losing playing time. I know he struggled lately, but on the whole, he still had a good year. Randall Grichuk has really started to pick things up. So Tristan English is a right-handed hitter. The first opportunity in the majors for him would probably be where he's facing a lot of lefties. DBacks don't really need that right now. So Trey Mancini is another name I would bring up as someone who's in AAA right now. Plays first base as well and is hitting well. So kind of an uphill battle, unfortunately, for Tristan English to get up to the majors, but maybe it's something we see at some point here.
Well, the Diamondbacks have I don't know, now a very big game tomorrow against a very good starting pitcher. Not sure if you heard of the guy, Jesse. His name's Paul Skenes. He has an impressive mustache, and the Pirates are still not a very good team when he's pitching, but again, not exactly the highest confidence that the Diamondbacks are going to be able to offensively go up against the Pirates tomorrow and do much damage against Skenes.
And I mean, on the other side of it, it's Zach Gallen pitching for the D-backs, right? And he has not really shoved much recently. It's been a struggle for him. Yeah, especially at home. So on paper, it's not a great matchup, Derek. Losing a series to the Pirates would be a pretty demoralizing development, especially given where things stood in the top of the 8th inning tonight, just a few hours ago.
Gross.
So hopefully we don't get to that point. But at the same time, I mean, Zach Gallen, I know he struggled against the Rockies, a team that also had a really poor offense, but this is an opportunity again with a subpar offense in the Pittsburgh Pirates. What they did tonight, notwithstanding, this is an opportunity for him to get right. And even people who are very skeptical of Zach Gallen or say they're tired of watching him pitch or whatever, Zach Gallen is better than what he's been so far this year. I think we can all agree his true talent level, whatever it is better than a mid-5 ERA. I think Gallen is going to be better the rest of the way, and maybe tomorrow is an opportunity for him to kind of turn his season around.
There was a direct correlation that Jack and I were discussing tonight about his walks and when he's bad in his career. And right now is one of those times where he's walking a lot of guys. He's throwing a lot of balls. He's not able to hit the strike zone. We talk about like trying to nibble at the edges a little bit too much or whatever instead of attacking the strike zone. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a big difference. And I don't know if that's necessarily on the pitching coach, on the game planning, on Gallen. I don't know who to blame it on, but I feel like for the most part, some of those same tactics are working with guys like Merrill Kelly and Brandon Pfaadt. Yes, they're attacking the strike zone, but we're also seeing them hit the edges. And, obviously, as a pitcher, you're trying your best to stay away from the middle of the zone. Like, there's no doubt about that. But, I mean, it's just more about having confidence in your stuff, confidence in his fastball, and trying to get ahead in batters, because we're just seeing Zach have too much of a difference when he's not getting ahead versus when he is, and he's just having a hard time battling back once he gets behind in the count. But I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic because it's the Pirates, Jesse, but I'm demoralized after what I saw this evening. So I don't know what to think, but hopefully we'll be talking about the Diamondbacks winning tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow, at least I will, with a post-game show. Jesse has so many other obligations in life, but make sure to check him and Jack Summers out on Snakes Territory. They do an incredible job. You can find it everywhere you find our show. You can find their account at Snakes Territory. And of course, Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman on Twitter. Jesse, thank you so much again for stopping by. Thank you for cursing this team. I feel like I'm just going to make sure when we schedule you on the show, we pencil it in as a loss, and hopefully we can somehow battle back. And we'll do what Jack does, because Jack tries to say like something bad's going to happen in order to reverse jinx the team.
There you go.
So maybe we'll try to figure something like that out. But of course, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. Kevin is at Kevo Posts. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks. But as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for your time. Sean says to go back to Friedman Friday. Tuesday ain't it. Maybe that's what we need to do. We'll figure something out. But Jesse, thank you again for stopping by. We thank all of you for stopping by. We appreciate your time. And this goes to Jesse. I know your time is your most valuable commodity. So we thank you again so much for spending it with us. We will see you tomorrow on another post-game show. Until then, try to have a decent night. Try to get some sleep. Enjoy yourselves. Behave yourselves. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when I don't have to have a panic attack every time we go to the goddamn bullpen.
We all silly like the mayor.